Good morning, I'm Clinton Griffiths. The Senate Ag Committee is scheduled to vote tomorrow on the much debated and discussed Cattle Price Discovery and Transparency Act. Ag Day National reporter Michelle Rook looks at the details of the bill and its chances of passage.
Clinton, the cattle industry has been working with lawmakers for more than 2 years on a legislative reform for the cattle market. The Cattle Price Discovery and Transparency Act was introduced by farm state senators, including Chuck Grassley of Iowa, Deb Fischer of Nebraska, Jon Tester of Montana, and Ron Wyden of Oregon. Now, it's designed to improve competition and ensure more fairness through robust price discovery and transparency. However, farm country is divided over the bill. Independent cattle producers like Craig Moss believe the cattle market is broken. He says it's controlled by the big four packers, and that was never more evident than during the height of the COVID-19 pandemic.
Really displayed what happens in this part of the world. They'll keep their contracts flowing, and the cash is, like I said, a residual supply. They'll use us when they need us, and it's even difficult just to get stuff done in a timely manner.
He says the increased competition and transparency in the Cattle Price Discovery and Transparency Act would help level the playing field. The bill creates a cattle contract library and mandates regional negotiated cash minimums packers would have to buy on a weekly basis.
But I think the minimums is really I think the biggest benefit will to prevent further erosion of the cash trade percentage, because it's our last form of price discovery.
Cattle producer Brad Koima worked with Iowa Senator Chuck Grassley on the market fix that is supported by many feeders in the north. It's the southern feedlots that are pushing back on the mandate.
I think the transparency side of it has got a lot of traction. You know, the next day weights, the formula library, this sort of thing. The whole hang-up gets to be when you get to this mandate, right? I mean, where, nobody's going to tell us how many we got to do, that sort of mentality.
And those mandates are the reason Farm Bureau and the National Cattlemen's Beef Association also oppose the bill.
The majority of cattle producers around the country don't support mandates. These AMAs, these alternative marketing arrangements, are tools that the vast majority of cattle producers are using now to make more money on their cattle, to receive premiums on those cattle, to be rewarded for investments in genetics and improvements in quality.
He says even cow-calf producers use the AMAs to provide signals that they're raising the right kind of cattle for the market and for the consumer. But Koima says AMAs aren't for everyone.
I'm not saying that there shouldn't be an AMA. There's plenty of room for both of us. Just make sure that you maintain some integrity, that there's enough price discovery that you actually have a market.
So the question is, what are the bill's chances of passage?
Senator Grassley himself still acts confident that it's at least going to be good enough to get a chance at a vote, I guess, and then we'll see what happens from there.
There's very little support in the House for the Fischer-Grassley bill. This is really a Senate side conversation, and more specifically, it's a Senate Ag Committee conversation. Support for this bill drops off dramatically once you leave the Senate Agriculture Committee.
Despite those headwinds, cattle producers that support the legislation say they're fighting to protect their livelihoods.
My view is that if we don't do something, we're going to continue to see this further deterioration of the negotiated trade. Along with that, the further liquidation of more and more of the small to medium-sized people like my customers and like the way I feed cattle and my family feeds cattle.
In Iowa, I'm Michelle Rook reporting for Ag Day. NCBA also opposes companion legislation, the Meat and Poultry Special Investigator Act, that would create a new USDA office dedicated to enforcing competition rules under the Packers and Stockyards Act. That's also scheduled to be voted on by the Senate Ag Committee this week.